It's Melanin VibeZ back with another video. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in with me. You see the vibes, honey. Yes, you see them. Today I'm going to be doing a step-by-step on how to do a cut crease with 4 colors. So if you're loving this look, make sure you tune in. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that post notification bell so you know every time that I upload. And let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to speed through the makeup on my face, and then we'll come back so that we can do the eyes together, and that's when we'll kind of slow it down a little bit. So watch me work, sis. I know y'all probably vibing out to the music and you didn't expect to hear my voice, but we're going to be wrapping up the face soon and we will be getting into the cut crease tutorial, so stay tuned. Alright, you guys, we are back and we are done with the face. Yes, ma'am. So we're going to be doing a 4-color cut crease. Now, don't get overwhelmed. This isn't going to be hard at all. The hardest part is deciding what colors to use. So you're going to need 4 colors. One's going to be a transition color. The second one is going to be for your outer corner. The third one is going to be for the middle of your eye. And the 4th color is going to be right in this area of your eye. First one is going to be your transition color. This color I would typically recommend you use either a brown or like an orange, something that's easily blendable and kind of goes with almost any color you put down. So what we're gonna do, you decide what colors you're gonna use. We're then gonna need some concealer. You're also going to need some setting powder to set the concealer down, and you're also gonna need a few brushes. So we're gonna go over the brushes that you need. You're gonna first need a brush that's kind of fluffy. This is gonna be used to blend out your concealer that you place down for your base. This is a Real Techniques brush. I got this from Walmart, so it's very inexpensive. Then you're also going to need the brush to actually cut your crease. This brush is going to be a very thin brush that has a rounded tip. It's going to be easier if you have a rounded tip because it's basically going to do the work for you. You're also going to need a blending brush. This is a e.l.f. blending brush that I got from Walmart. I believe it was like maybe $1 or $2, and it looks like this, and it's kind of flat, but this is going to help you blend those colors into each other. You're also going to need a brush to apply the shadow, and it looks like this. It's kind of flat, but it still has a little fluffiness to it. This is how you're gonna place down the color, and then you will use the blending brush to blend them all together. I tell people when they're first starting out, don't try to apply and blend at the same time, because sometimes you can kind of make a mess, and you kind of want to baby step it until you know where you're going with the product. And the last brush you're gonna need is a blending brush. This brush is gonna be used when we're blending out our transition. So let's get right into it, you guys. So I'm going to take my concealer and I'm just going to dab it on my eye. You don't need a lot. You want to make sure it covers your whole lid and no skin shows through, but you don't want to use too much to where you'll have to be blending for a long time. So we're going to go in with our Real Techniques brush. This is the brush I'm going to use to blend that concealer over the eye. And I actually might need to add a little bit more. So I'm actually going to add a little bit more to this eye. So I'm just going in and blending this down. And I'm just going to add a little bit more on this side just to make sure that it is solid. And so I'm not pressing too hard, but I'm blending enough to where I'm blending it up into cover the whole entire lid. And so your base should look something like this, very seamless, and you're just gonna blend that to where everything is all one color and that you don't see your lid through the base you put down. Now that we have blended it, we're gonna go and set this down with some setting powder. Now there are techniques out there where you don't have to set this concealer down and you go from this to applying your eyeshadow. But since this is gonna be a beginner, it's probably best to set it down just so that none of this concealer moves as you're trying to blend out. So I'm gonna go in with some setting powder. This is LA Color setting powder in the color Natural. You can get this from any drugstore. And I'm just gonna go in with that same brush I used to blend out the concealer. I'm gonna use it to put on the setting powder. And I'm gonna go in, I'm just gonna blot it over the concealer. And once you have blotted it all on, you're gonna tap your brush. You're just gonna start to now blend this into the concealer. And you wanna kind of blend it in until it disappears into it. And you should have a matte finish on your concealer. I'm gonna go in and do the same thing to the other eye. I'm gonna blot over it. Make sure I'm covering all my bases. And now tap to get that extra product off. And then we're gonna go in and blend it. Okay, so now that you have blended this out and set down your concealer, you're now gonna be ready for your first color, which is gonna be the transition shade. So you can go ahead and put your first brush away. If you're using the same brush, I would recommend you having either a napkin or you can use one of the color swatch for the brushes to where you can brush away that product just so that you don't start to smear everything together. So now what we're gonna need is our fluffy brush that we're gonna use for blending. And you're gonna pick your first color. Like I said, I would recommend either a brown or an orange, just depending on the colors that you're using, but those are pretty universal and they pretty much go with any color. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go into the BH Cosmetics Ultimate Matte Palette. It looks like this. I'm gonna go in with a brown shade since I'll be doing blues. So I'm going to go in with this brown right here. And what you want to do with your blending brush, you just want to dip into it very lightly like this. You don't want to drag it or scoop it because then you're going to have too much product. We want to start light and we want to build. So after you already have product on it, you're still going to tap your brush to make sure all of the extra product falls off, because like I said, we want to put a light layer first and blend. With makeup, any eyeshadow, with honestly any makeup, it's best to start light and then you can add on more product. But it's harder to add all the product and then have to figure out either how to blend it or have to take it off and start over. Nobody wants to start over, okay? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take the blending brush and we're gonna go right above where our eye naturally creases, and we're just gonna go circular motions from the outside to the inside, outside to the inside, and you're just gonna go back and forth. And let me move up my hair out the way. Back and forth with that transition shade. And you can barely see my brown, and that's what I want because we want to do this light. We don't want it to be too heavy. Like I said, we can always blend. So now that we have this, I'm going to go back into that brown. I'm going to keep tapping, and then I'm going to tap off the excess. And now I'm going to start doing windshield wiper motions. And I'm just rubbing that back and forth, back and forth. And once we have that color set down into our crease, and you can start to see my eye start to crease up a little bit, that's gonna help later on with this process. So now what you wanna do with this transition shade, and you can add more if you want to, but I'm gonna kind of stop here and I'm just gonna do a little bit of blending. So I'm gonna take my fluffy, the same brush, and I'm just going to start doing circular motions, just really on the outer corner of my eye. And once it's dark enough to my liking, I'm going to do windshield wiper motions all the way through from the edge to edge, edge to edge. And you're driving this into the crease where your eye naturally creases. You're just driving that in so that you have a guide. And you're just going to keep going back and forth until you start to see that color transition over to the inner corner of your eye. You can add extra product and start adding it over here, but then you're gonna kind of blow it out and it's gonna be too much and it's gonna be hard for you to blend. So you're just gonna go in, back and forth until you really start to drive that color in. I didn't add any more product to my brush because now I'm just letting my brush do the work for me with the product that's already on there, and I'm just dragging it back and forth. And you can go in between circular motions and windshield wiper motions, just back and forth. It's also very critical how you hold your brush. If you hold your brush closer to the tip, you're gonna have a harsher look. So if you push your hands back a little bit to like this, how you're holding a pencil, you'll give yourself a lighter look. So I'm just pushing that back and forth and blowing it out just a little bit, so you're gonna have that seamless blend. So you should start to see your crease kind of form a little bit, and that's also gonna help you with cutting the crease. So now that we have that, I'm also going to use the same brush. So I'm gonna go in with my color swatch and I'm just going to brush away that brown. What I'm gonna do is go back into that same palette. I'm gonna be using a navy blue like this, and this is gonna be my second color. So now this is gonna be the color we're gonna put on the edge. So lightly tap our brush down into the color. And don't put too much. As you can see, I didn't put a lot on the brush, but I tapped away anything so that there's no fallout or anything like that. So now I'm gonna go right where the crease of my eye is, right here. And I'm just gonna do circular motions and blend that navy blue over that brown. And this is gonna help to blend those colors together. And what you're gonna do is circular motions and then sweep it forward. Circular motions and sweep it forward. Circular motions and sweep it forward. And you're gonna keep doing that until you start to see your color kind of build up and show a little bit. And I'm going to stop right here. You see how you can now see the blue more than you can see the brown? That's why we put down the transition shade, so that the outer corner isn't going to be too harsh and it's going to save you blending later. And so I'm going to keep going back. I haven't added any extra product to my brush, just the product that was on there, and I'm just doing circular motions and windshield wiper motions. And now that we have this, take our brush and we're going to brush away some of that product. So if you have your napkin, this is where you'll brush that second color off, and you're going to go back into your first color. And my first color was that brown. So I'm just going to go back over that blue, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, circular motions, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, circular motions. And this is just help blend that first color and second color together. Makeup is very tedious because you have to go back and forth between the same products over and over, and that's why a lot of people say that they don't have time for it. But honestly, the finished look is so great. So I mean, why not? So now we're going to go back into our color swatch and we're going to wipe off that first color. And we're going to go back into our second color, and I'm just lightly tapping. I'm not really putting a lot of product, and I'm going to go right over where we put that first color and blend again. And I'm just going back and forth. And so now that we have this, you should look something like this, to where you can kind of see just a little bit of that first color, and then majority of it is going to be your second color. So you can see my brown just a little bit here, and this is my second color. So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch brushes, because we're going to need this again, so don't put it away. And with this e.l.f. blending brush, we're going to go into our third color. I'm going to use this lighter blue that's right here, and you're just going to lightly tap on it. And you see how I have the product on here? I'm going to also take the color, and I'm just going to start pressing it right where that second color ends. And I'm not going all the way right where you see your eyes start to crease up right here. You're going to stop. So you're just packing that on. You're not blending or doing any motions. You're just going up and down to pack that color on. So you should start to see the color a little more. You can go in with a little bit more. I'm gonna go up and down, up and down, up and down. And you can build this to your liking. If you want it to be more bold, you can go bold. If you want it to be more subtle, you can go subtle. So now that we have this, we're gonna go back into our blending brush, and I'm gonna go back into my navy blue, and I'm just gonna start to now blend this out to make sure it's not too harsh and that we don't lose our color. So I'm going back and forth. And I'm going to go back in with my blending brush for the other color. And I'm going to now start to go side to side. Side to side with our e.l.f. blending brush. This is the brush we use to put on our third color. Now you should start to see the colors kind of blend into each other. And you're going to go back in with your blending brush. And you're going to just go back and forth into that third color. And you don't have to add any more product because you'll still have product on your brush. This is how blending works. You just keep going in, back and forth until the colors start to meet and they start to look all like one, but they still have their place on your eye. So now that we have this is gonna be our base for everything. So now we're gonna get into cutting the crease. We're going to be doing a half cut crease, and then I will do a video of where we're going step by step for a full cut crease. Now I'm going to switch my concealer to a lighter color just because I do need this for my look, but if you only have the one concealer, you can use that as well. So I'm going to be using the LA Colors Conceal It. This is Cover and Correct Concealer in the color Fair, and it looks like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of that product and put it on my hand. And what I always say, the less product you put on your hand, the less product you'll use. If you squeeze out, you see how much I put on? If you squeeze out too much, you're gonna be tempted to use more. And for this process, you want it to be less as possible, and you can blend and add more as you need to. So now you're also gonna need a mirror. I should have said that, but I was looking down in my mirror. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go in with our flat brush that looks like this. This is gonna be the cut crease brush, and you wanna like squeeze the tip. If it's not super flat already, you wanna squeeze the tip to make sure that it's flat and all the bristles are together so that it doesn't become a problem when you're cutting your crease. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to dab the product on both sides, and putting the product on both sides just help your brush to be more flat. So I'm gonna put the product on my brush like this. And now you're gonna take your mirror, and you're not gonna hold your mirror up like here, because then you won't be able to really see exactly what you're doing. So you're gonna put it down right here. And you're gonna go into the middle of your eye where you put that third color, and you're just gonna brush down. And what you're gonna do is after you do that, you're gonna look up. And you see how the concealer transferred up there? That's where you wanna cut your crease. So what you're gonna do, you're gonna take a little more product, and you're just gonna go where the color transferred, and you're gonna draw your first line, and you're just gonna slowly make that line, and you're curving it downward like this. And once you have put some product there, you're gonna go to the front of your eye. You're gonna have your brush like this, and you're gonna take it and press it down and move it up. And you can go as slow as you want. Move it up to meet where it transferred. And it's gonna look like this. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that product from right here. You're gonna drag it where you first put that concealer down like this. And now you should start to see your crease. So you can go in and add a little bit more product to both sides. And now what we're gonna do is make this more sharp. You're gonna slowly start to connect everything and make sure your edges are smooth and not jagged and have a good curve to it. Now I'm gonna start dragging my product over. I'm not adding any more at this point. I'm just dragging over the product that was already on there onto the eye. And we should have this. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna start to pull it over. And this is your preference of how far you want it to go. I'm not putting any extra product on. I'm just pulling this over until I'm comfortable. And you can just keep pulling that product. Don't worry if you put too much. You can just use this to cover the rest of the eye by pulling it over like so. So now that we have this, you're gonna go back up to where that first part was transferred, and you're gonna start to use the tip of your brush. You're gonna use your brush like this, and you're gonna start to just drag it over. And like I said, until you're ready to stop. Now I'm just using the rest of that product, and I'm dragging it over to match that. And the reason why you don't want to add any more product after this is because it's going to be harder to blend if this isn't thin. You don't want a lot of thick product right here, because then it's going to be harder for you to blend. So I'm just pulling that over until I'm comfortable and I'm ready to stop. And this is usually where I would stop at. So I'm going to pull this closer so you guys can see. This is what we have so far. So as you can see our first color, which is that transition color. You can see our second color, which is the navy blue that we've blended into it. And then you can also see the third color, which is that lighter blue. Don't worry if you're covering the third color, you're gonna use that same color to blend, but we put it there as a marker so that we know which color we ended with. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and I'm gonna leave this wet like this, And don't move around too much because you don't want it to start transferring to other places. So what I'm going to do is go back in with that blending brush, the same brush we used to apply color 3. And we're going to go back into color 3, tapping it very lightly. Start pressing that color just to the edge of the cut crease. And we're just going up and down. Until you start to see that color kind of form. We're not going to do anything with our second color just yet. We're going to go back into that third color, tap, and press some more. And this is just hiding where the end of the cut crease is. And you're going to go from top to bottom. I'm going to go over just a little more because that's part of my look. If you want to do more colors, you can. Pressing it and patting it into my eye and where I want it to stop at. This is what it looks like right now. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go in and I'm going to use my brush that I used to apply the second color. I'm going to go back into my second color. I'm tapping very lightly, tapping it off, and I'm just going to go forward into that third color. And this is just to make sure they're all blended together. I'm going to go back into my third color. And I'm just going to tap. And I'm not adding any more color to these brushes now. I'm just going to go back and forth and blend. So back and forth, back and forth. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my fourth color now, which is going to be a light blue, the Moira Never Ending Lights, into this light blue that is right here. Now this is where the brush comes in at that has the flatness to it, but it also has a little bit of fluffy. This is the BH Cosmetics number 4 brush. And I'm just going to go in and rub over that shadow. Start where my cut crease is, and I'm going to press that color into it. Like this. And I'm just going to go around the edge using the edge of my brush, and I'm going to press in where that concealer starts. And I'm meeting the other color, as you can see. I haven't really tapped into that color anymore. I'm just using the color I already have and I'm moving it around. And now I'm going to go back into the brush that I use for my third color without any product on it. I'm just going to start to go back and forth in between those two colors until they start to kind of blend together. You can go from tapping back and forth to side. And I'm just going in and touching up that second color as well. And going back in and touching up that third color as well. So this is how you do a cut crease. Now, if you want to slow this down or pause it at any moment, you can. But this is what it's going to look like once you are done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do my other eye. And then I will show you guys the finished product. And we are back with all the vibes, honey. Thank you so much for tuning in with me, you guys. I really appreciate the love. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that post notifications bell so you know every time that I upload. Who wants to miss these vibes, honey? So yes, this has been the cut crease tutorial. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's Melanin VibeZ. Keep going, keep growing. Bye.